I mean, I am in West Virginia, so whenever I see this orange, that's what I think of, is just the bright colors that hunters use so that they don't get shot by their cousin. Hey, what's happening, everybody? It's your old pal, Mr. Butter, coming back at you again. Today, I want to get into an absolute banger. This might be the most hyped up release of 2025 so far, and I am so happy I was able to get this retail W. If you're into kicks and you feel like hanging out, then hit that subscribe button. Let's take a look at these undefeated Jordan 4s. And a real quick look at what I'm rocking on feet today. Shout out to my cousin GK. He was actually able to hit these for retail for me. This is the Velvet Brown Travis Scott Jordan 1 Low. I like these because they're under the radar. You might not even realize what they are if you see somebody wearing them. But I've just really been into them lately, and I love the way they look with baggy jeans. I have been looking forward to this pair for quite some time, not even just looking up to the actual release, but also just after securing my EQLW, just looking forward to the time that they would actually arrive. I think I ordered these, or the order went through on the 1st of August, and they didn't show up until about 3.5 weeks later. I wasn't really stressing about it because I saw on the website whenever I went for them that they were guaranteed to ship by the 28th or the 29th, something like that. So I knew it might take some time. It's very similar to like Union collabs or Alma Maniere collabs. They simply don't have the manpower to get the sales out as quick as what Nike or sneakers or the Jordan brand does. So it just takes them some time. Whenever they're shipping out thousands of pairs and they have limited people to actually get them packaged and shipped, it just takes a while. So with all that said, I wasn't really stressing out or anything about it, but I was like a little kid waiting for Christmas to come. There has been a lot of talk of QC issues, people saying that their pairs showed up and they were extremely disappointed. I'd be lying if I said that that wasn't in the back of my mind as well, just because of course you're waiting to see, is my pair going to be all jacked up? Is my pair going to look terrible, or is it going to come in good shape? And we'll get into all that. But whenever we talk about important collabs and significant collabs and that sort of thing, it really doesn't get any bigger than this pair. I probably don't even have to tell any of you that the undefeated Jordan 4 was the very first official collaboration that the Jordan brand ever did with any other boutique or brand or anything like that. So they kind of paved the way for Off-White, Union, Alma Maniere, whatever company, whatever brand, Awake, that's a really big one right now. But whatever collab you're thinking about when it comes to the Jordan brand, that wouldn't have happened if Undefeated didn't have this collaboration back in 05. So you can see that there's a 20 on here. It's got the Undefeated kind of 5 check marks with the Jumpman over top of it, but you can see it says 05 and then 25, and of course that is indicating the years of which these dropped. Whenever this first pair dropped in 05, they limited them to like 72 pairs or something like that. It was an absolute grail, and I would put this shoe in the category along with like the Wu-Tang Dunks, just pairs that were grails that you just assumed that we would never see again. So the fact that Jordan brand brought these back on the 20-year anniversary of when they were first released and made them more available and that sort of thing, I just think it's great. I'm really pumped to have this pair. But looking at the box, it's just all a gray color. It has the flip top lid, and like I said, it's got the 20 to signify the number of years that have passed from the first time that it's been released, which was in 05, and then of course we're seeing it again in 2025. The tag reads Air Jordan 4 Retro OG SP. The colors are deep green, clementine, and black. I went with my true to size 10 on this pair. For the longest time, I was always going up a half size on all my Jordan 4s, but ever since the reimagined Bred 4s, it seems like I can get away with going true to size. They don't hurt the outside of my feet the way previous Jordan 4s have. So hopefully going true to size was the right call. Only time will tell. We did get some branding on the paper on the inside. You can see those 5 lines for the Undefeated logo, and then we can also see the Jumpman on there as well. Then one more little extra in the box, we did get a little postcard. Looks like it's the storefront. I believe that's the LA location. And there's a quick look at the back for anybody that cares. And enough of my yapping and that box talk.
My goodness, it feels good to have these in hand.
Like I've already mentioned, I have heard so many horror stories about how bad the QC on these pairs are, so I was a little bit nervous to see my pair, you know, leading up to the time when I was waiting for them. And of course, the more time that goes by, the more that just builds and builds. And I knew that these were going to have an all nubuck upper, and just from prior experience, I know that that can be very unforgiving. It does show imperfections and blemishes and stuff whenever you have a material on the upper like this, but I can say I am very pleased with the way that my pair came out. Not just how clean they look with the paint, the glue, and that sort of thing, but also just the overall shape. Sometimes you'll have issues with them being a little bit wonky shaped and that sort of thing. And these are very uniform from one shoe to the next. I really like the way they look from the side profile, but then I also really like how they look whenever you're looking down at them. I just think the shape came out really well, and I've got no complaints in that area. The paint looks good. I don't have any issues there. The one little blemish that I have on my shoe is this little spot of glue on the mud guard. And I'd imagine you can see that on camera. When I see these in person, sometimes it's pretty obvious, sometimes it kind of blends in, but I guess it depends on what kind of light is hitting it. I posted a short when these first arrived, and I was basically unboxing the shoe and getting my first look at it, and I did make note that that was the only blemish that I saw on the shoe. And it was funny because shout out to Eddie Wynn, he commented on that short and he said that his pair has the exact same blemish on his Undefeated 4s. And then after he said that, I think there were like 3 or 4 other people who said, my shoe has the exact same blemish. And again, that kind of just reinforces what I was saying earlier. This kind of material is going to be very unforgiving. If there's anything on the people's hands that are putting these together, then it is going to come off on the shoe and you are going to see it. Surely it would be hard to keep glue off the rest of this upper whenever you're gluing it to this midsole and outsole, but I really don't have a problem with this. I saw a lot of people in my comments of that short saying, that's ridiculous, I would send it back, that's unacceptable. When they're that expensive, they should be absolutely perfect. And of course, I would love for all of my Jordans to come in perfect condition. I would love it if there was never any QC issues, but I'm just a little bit more realistic than that. And it always reminds me of when I got my first new vehicle. The truck that I have now is my very first new vehicle I've ever had. I was really looking forward to it. I really couldn't afford it until I guess I got the truck in 2019, but it just felt so good, and there was just so much excitement kind of leading up to that because it was exactly what I wanted. And I got to the dealership, we had the price all lined up and all that kind of stuff, and when I got there, I saw a little scratch on the driver's side door. Nothing huge, nothing, you know, that looked like the truck had been wrecked, but it looked like maybe somebody else opened the door and it hit the side of the truck. And at first I was thinking like, oh no, this ain't gonna fly, I'm gonna need some money off and blah blah blah, you know. I was really kind of hung up on this little scratch at first, but it didn't take long for me to just kind of process it. And I ended up coming to terms with the fact, well, now I don't have to worry about putting the first imperfection on it. And I kind of just told myself in my own mind, like, well, this is actually doing me a favor, because I know how mad I would be at myself if I put a nick or a scratch or something in it. And this kind of just takes that pressure away. Well, I feel the same way about this little glue spot. This is going to help me throw these on feet even quicker. I think this is a very wearable colorway, and now I don't have to worry about putting the first little imperfection on it, because I plan on putting these on feet. There's dirt outside, they'll get scuffed, you know, that sort of thing. I have a kid that's always stepping on my feet, but this way I don't have to get hung up on it, because they're already imperfect. It's not like I'm gonna be ruining the shoe. It's just a little bit crazy to expect them to be perfect, and I just don't mind it at all. But I don't want to beat that dead horse too much. That's just kind of how I feel about it. I hope if you all get a retail W on these, or even if you pay resell, I hope your shoe comes in a condition that's acceptable to you. I hope that you're not unhappy with your pairs. Let me know down in the comments how yours turned out. But like I said, I'm not hung up on this, because this is a shoe that I'm not thinking about making resell on or anything like that. I want these to wear these, and I plan on having these in the rotation for years to come. So, I mean, it just is what it is. But aside from that little imperfection, I really couldn't find anything that I had any problems with. And I was very happy to see that. I don't know how bad the QC has been on the majority of the pairs, and I do hate to hear that a lot of people are so unhappy with them, but for me, I'm still as pumped as can be to have this pair. I should also say, at the time that I'm making this video, they have not yet released on sneakers. I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know if it's going to be exclusive access. I don't know if it's going to be a shock drop. Not too long ago, we saw the brick by brick restock pretty much get ruined because people had the link early before Nigel could share it on Instagram or anything. I thought it was kind of cool that the Jordan brand canceled all those orders just because that link got leaked, and it didn't give anybody a fair shot at getting them. Basically, the only people that were able to get them were the people that had that link prior to the time that they were supposed to release. I am anxious to see how these release, and I really hope that a lot of people that are watching this video right now will have received W's from the sneakers app on this pair as well. Before I forget to mention it, the left shoe did come with a little hang tag. It's just plastic, but it has those undefeated lines, like the 5 lines, and then the one cross through, and then it has a Jumpman over top of it, similar to what we saw on the top of the box. But looking at the outsole, it's a similar tread pattern that we always see on Jordan 4s. This one has Nike Air branding and not the Jumpman like we saw on the original release back in 2005. So on the bottom of this shoe, it does say Nike. I don't know if the original release says Nike on the outsole or if it has a Jumpman. Actually, that would be interesting to look at. But the perimeter is all just a nice black material. The Nike is in that bright orange. And then we have this one herringbone traction section towards the forefoot that is also in that bright orange, but we've all seen that tread pattern before. Really nothing out of the ordinary. As we come up to the side of the shoe, we can see that black rubber from the outsole comes up to the midsole area, and that is met with this sail colored foam. And I gotta say, the paint on mine looks pretty good. There might be a little air bubble here or there, not talking about the air unit, but like in the paint, there might be a little bit of an air bubble here or there, but overall, I think the paint looks pretty clean. I've got no complaints about it or anything like that. I really like how for this visible air unit, we can see that nice bright orange inside of there. I just think that's a nice little hidden pop of color. And then of course, we see that bright orange up here on the tag, on the tongue, as well as on the back of the tongue. But I just think it's a perfect little pop of color along with this army green. I forget if I mentioned it before, but this colorway was inspired by a military bomber jacket. So of course this does look like kind of like an army green, or really just any type of camo green. And then with this orange, this reminds me of like high visibility, like hunter safety gear or something. I mean, I am in West Virginia, so whenever I see this orange, that's what I think of, is just the bright colors that hunters use so that they don't get shot by their cousins. But then as we work our way up the shoe, we can see that we have this nice green nubuck for the entire upper. And as I've said before, a lot of people had complaints about their shoes being marked up or having scuffs and scratches, also that the shape was off and that sort of thing. And I've got to say, I really don't have any of that. My only blemish is just that little spot of glue here on the mudguard, and I really don't mind that in the least bit. I know they're expensive, but I'm not perfect. For me to expect to have a perfect pair of Jordans every time I make a purchase, that's just not realistic. On the back of the shoe, we do have a black heel tab like we're familiar with getting on Jordan 4s. This one has Nike Air branding, and I like the way that it's black on black, but the original pair from 2005 did have a Jumpman. It's funny, now people are actually starting to talk about preferring the Jumpman, and for the longest time everybody wanted Nike Air on every release, whether it was a collab, an OG, or anything. And for example, I think the Cavestone 4s, which will be coming here in a week or two, I think those have Nike Air on the back. And for years we would have never seen that. But it's funny because now that we're getting that on just standard GRs, people are saying like, oh, I prefer the Jumpman. And I swear I never heard anybody say that for the longest time. So similar to that, I don't have to have the Jumpman on the back of mine. Really, I could take that or leave it. I'm just happy to have this pair in my collection. For these accents that we have on the laces, they're black, and at the base of them, it's like a glossy black. But then these basketball nets, or these crowns, or whatever you want to call them, these are also black, but they are a flat finish, so they don't have any shine on it. And I just thought that was neat. I never realized that from pictures, but these that you actually see the laces going through, that's like a flat black color. But these wings up towards the top of the lacing system, they have a glossy black finish. Similar to other Jordan 4s, these do have that netting. We see it on the base of the tongue, as well as on the side panels. And underneath of that netting, you can see that it's like a green mesh material. The top of this tongue almost feels like a canvas or something, but it's a really shiny material. And it has this Velcro badge on it that has a bright orange Jumpman on there. But if you take that off, you can actually see that it says Jordan Rare Air underneath. And that's very similar to the Rare Air 4s that we just saw. You don't have multiple colors to get, like the white or the gold for the Rare Air 4s. I think these are all just white. I do think that that looks pretty cool, but I'll probably just rock these as they came with the patches on. These came with flat black laces already in the shoes, but they also gave us a spare set of that bright orange color. I am just going to keep the black laces in there. I think it's got enough little pops of color with the orange that's already on the shoe, but I know a lot of people swapped them out immediately for these bright orange ones. I have seen people put sail laces in them, and I think that looks good as well. The back of the tongue is more of that orange color, and it says Undefeated upside down on there. Our sock liner is black, or else just a dark gray color. And then down on the insole, we see more of that bright orange, and we can also see the Undefeated logo down there as well. But that was a really quick look at these Undefeated Jordan 4s. I am so pumped to have this pair in my collection. Feels good to hit them for retail. I think I ended up paying around $260 US altogether, just with the retail price, plus shipping, plus the EQL fee, it came out altogether to around $260. And I know that is expensive, and I know that a lot of people want their shoes to be absolutely perfect, but I'm happy with what I got. And let me know down in the comments if you're happy with your pair as well. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I appreciate you all watching tremendously. I will catch y'all on the next one. I'm out.